What's up, guys? This is that PlayStation Gamer. So I'm going to respond to Arcade Outpost's video, talk about Pedro Pascal, his comments about playing Joel in The Last of Us TV show. Now, first off, I want to get this out of the way. I don't like Arcade Outpost. I don't like the quartering. I don't like Geeks and Gamers. I don't like Yellow Flash. And it's so funny because, well, Yellow Flash 2, sorry. Which is funny because considering I used to be subscribed to those kind of channels. Also like Clownfish TV. A lot of these channels that were anti-SJW. And I'm going to be real, I think the waking point for me was The Last of Us Part 2, because a lot of these channels were just milking this whole thing for any amount of views they could get, to the point that they would literally, like, Neil Druckmann made a tweet saying, oh, The Last of Us Part 2, you know, leaks are not completely accurate to the full context of the story. They basically just, you know, lose their shit. Like, oh my God, how dare Neil Druckmann say this? And of course, they use that cringe-ass face known where they call him Neil Cuckman, or Neil Druckmann, Cuckman, whatever the fuck they call him. Just like, Jesus Christ. I don't like these kind of channels, but I also kind of want to talk about Pedro Pascal's comments, because I'm going to be honest, I think he actually makes a fair point. Well, Pedro Pascal makes a fair point. And, well, let's just get into this cringe-ass video from an anti-SJW channel that, ironically enough, behaves like a SJW.
It seems like every time that any type of movie's made out of an IP that's already existing, from a video game, comic books, whatever it may be, they go out of their way to piss off the fans. They go out of their way to make sure that this is as different as it can be from what people were actually expecting, which is nonsensical. When
You serious?
Not going to be faithful, huh? You know, they only have the game's director, you know, on board. The guy also made was on board for the comics, and a guy who made Chernobyl, you know, one of the most well-respected miniseries HBO's ever put out. But they're not going to be respectful to the source material because Pedro Pascal. Okay, whatever you say here, Snowflake.
you make something that already has a fan base, you want to do something to please those fans. You want to show it to them the way that they're expecting it. But evidently that's not the case for Pedro Pascal and The Last of Us series. Pedro Pascal created a healthy distance from The Last of Us game to prepare for the TV series. Now, it'd be one thing if it was The Last of Us 2, because that was a terrible game. We all know that, but that's not the case. This is going to be a series that's based on events from the first game. But Pedro Pascal wants to create a healthy distance. Why? We'll get into that.
Oh, I know the answer to this question. Because he doesn't want to be a carbon copy of Troy Baker and actually wants to put his own twist on the character instead of being a one-for-one remake, and basically incentivizing people to play the game instead of watching the TV show. Is that the answer? Is that the actual answer? Or is you're going to push a narrative here? Because I got a strange feeling, just a strange feeling that you don't like Pedro Pascal, but for not this, for something else. Someone holding a grudge? We'll find out.
He wanted to create a healthy distance between the live-action series and the original game. The usual red flags have begun to fly for HBO's upcoming live-action adaptation of The Last of Us, as series star Pedro Pascal, who called half of America Nazis, by the way, just in case you forgot, but didn't get fired from Disney, has revealed that not only did he not engage with Naughty Dog's original works, but he also wanted to create a healthy distance between his depiction of the protagonist and the character's video game counterpart.
Oh, and like a incel, he actually is still holding a grudge for the fact that Gina Carano got fired because she actually compared wearing a mask or getting a vaccination to the Holocaust. If you guys don't remember that, she was actually told by Disney executives and people working on The Mandalorian, please stop doing this shit, because people like Pedro Pascal don't want to be doing interviews and have to answer stupid questions like, how does it feel to work with a Nazi sympathizer? You know, because that actually would have been bad for the show and actually bad for publicity, but we're not going to talk about that. By the way, calling half of America Nazis and you don't present any evidence, a little suspicious here. Yeah, again, you couldn't edit this. You couldn't, get out your little screen share and, actually present that tweet. Because I'm going to be real, I don't believe you unless I actually see the tweet.
Mandalorian star spoke on his upcoming role during a recent interview, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, where he plays part of a massive Nicolas Cage superfan. As the interview drew to a close, GQ contributor Jack King broached the subject of the upcoming video game series by saying, "I am the biggest fan of The Last of Us," to which Pascal replied, "Did you play the game? It's so sad. I haven't any skill to play it. And then it was only a matter of minutes before I had to hand it over to my nephew. It really takes a specific kind of skill, and I don't have it." That is pitiful and pathetic that you can't even play a couple minutes out of a video game, Pedro Pascal. But it'd be one thing if you sat there and let your nephew play it and you watched it so you could understand. Is that what he did? Asked by King if he watched his nephew play through the whole thing, "I watched for as long as I was able to that day, and I had to leave Florida. I found Joel so impressive. I found the whole of it such a visually impressive experience. Then I got worried that I would want to imitate too much, which I think could be right in some circumstances and then a mistake in others. So I wanted to create a healthy distance, and for that to be more in the hands of the show co-writer Craig Mazin and the game writer Neil Druckmann."
So let's get this right. Pedro Pascal is a bad man because he didn't play The Last of Us, but he did watch his nephew play it. But he doesn't want to imitate Troy Baker's Joel, or Joel just in general, and wants to actually do something with the character that's not in the games, or hell, just not basically just not imitate. And this is a bad thing. I'm gonna say this right now. I have a huge problem with adaptations when they are trying to be a one-for-one recreation. You could take a look at any anime adaptation and how they're trying to be a one-for-one recreation. Even the actors try to be the same character from the anime they're adapting. And it sucks because those actors don't, I'm not going to say they don't respect what they're doing, the anime and the source material, but it comes off as a cheap imitation from what could be a good actor. And it's just, I personally respect Pedro Pascal now more because he actually seems like he does like the character Joel, but he doesn't want to be an imitation. And I feel like that's what I just keep saying here. He doesn't want to be an imitation. And I think that's a good thing. But channels like this have to, basically just say what the article says. By the way, this article seems oddly fucking biased. And try to warp it as a bad thing because that's all their YouTube channels are, is warping the facts to make it sound bad, even though it could actually be a good thing.
So you didn't want to know anything about the character. It sounds a lot like when John Cena was like, "Do you want me to read these books about Peacemaker?" And James Gunn's like, "No, I don't want you to have any sort of influence from the actual source material." And it's one thing to listen to direction and listen to what Neil Druckmann and the writers and the director want you to do for this series. And another to say, you know what? I have no desire to actually learn anything about this character, to understand their mannerisms, what motivates them, anything like that. I just want it to be spoon-fed through me.
Dear God, man. Do you actually read what you're telling people? Pedro Pascal said he watched his nephew play The Last of Us. He actually likes Joel from The Last of Us. It's, I guess, because he didn't have the controller in his hand, he just loses any credibility, right? If you don't have the controller in your hand while someone else is playing The Last of Us, or you're playing The Last of Us, oh my God. And by the way, the John Cena example is really stupid when you think about it, because that version of Peacemaker is different from the comics. You know what's also different from the comics compared to their on-screen counterpart? Spider-Man. You know who else is different? Wolverine. But you don't have problems with those. You don't have problems with superhero actors not reading the source material because, well, surprise, they don't have the time all the time to actually, read the source material. I know I'm rambling here, but it's like, Jesus Christ, man. Read what you're saying. He actually likes Joel, but I guess because he doesn't have the controller in the hand, the points don't transfer over.
I just want it to be spoon-fed to me by these other people. That's such a stupid, nonsensical thing. We're looking at a Halo series right now that is as un-Halo as it could possibly be, where you have people admitting they didn't play the games, they didn't really care about the games at all, and the product looks like they didn't care about the games. Now, Pedro Pascal is going out there admitting, you know what? Yeah, I wanted to make sure that the actual Joel in the video games, that not too much of that rubbed off on me. I don't want to imitate him. I don't want to be like this character. It's supposed to be our own type of portrayal. There are red flags already, and this show is far from coming out. The last
And I had a sneaky suspicion he'd bring that up. The Halo TV show. You mean the Halo TV show where the show's director literally admitted he never played any of the Halo games and didn't want to have any of the influence from the games on the show? They just basically wanted to use the Halo name to make a sci-fi show, which is a pretty bad sci-fi show too. Versus actually having the game's director be a writer on the show and actors actually admitting they have played the game or at least watched someone play the game. Versus like a crew that had like no experience with the Halo franchise at all. To the point that it seemed like they didn't even look at the cover of the game. But, oh god, just these two things are not similar. They are not the same. Dear God, can you use that thing in your head? Please? Please start using it. Because clearly, one actually has respect for the source material, and the other one seems to want to pretend it never existed. The only people on the Halo TV show actually seem to, at least touch the game are the people working in the freaking editing freaking room. But, oh god. There's more of this video, but you know what, folks? I'm going to be freaking honest here. I can't do it. It's like only a little bit left, so maybe I can finish up for you guys, wrap it up here, get that last bit in, but it's not going to get better like in the last 10 seconds.
Last of Us will likely be a disaster because it has a lot of shitty people involved, including Neil Druckmann, who is an absolute cuck, a piece of shit, the man behind The Last of Us Part 2. So he already wants to destroy Joel's character. We've seen that in real time. I imagine he'll do it with this TV series as well.
Let's get this straight, because Neil Druckmann wrote in a script that Joel dies. That means he doesn't want Joel to exist. Even though Joel's death was essentially the entire point of The Last of Us Part 2 happening. It's the reason Ellie goes out for revenge against Abby. It's the reason why Abby even knows about Ellie to begin with. But that's bad because, actually having a character's death actually means something instead of being brushed off like it means nothing, like, the late season of Game of Thrones. It's bad. This is why I don't do a lot of these Last of Us, reaction to reactionary videos. I'm reacting to reactionaries, but these people clearly are sharing a fucking brain and there ain't enough brain cells in it. So yeah, that's my take on the whole thing. I think Pedro Pascal is actually being respectful to the source material, and I actually think he's got a pretty good idea for the franchise. Show, because he doesn't want to do one-for-one recreation, and I think that's actually a good thing, because if I wanted to watch The Last of Us, I would just watch YouTube video of all the cutscenes, or I just play the game. So it's actually good to do something a little different. And from what I'm actually seeing from, the set leaks and all that stuff, it does look like it's actually being very faithful to what the original game did. And I'm kind of excited to see the new stuff they're going to add on to it. But until next time, guys, this is That PlayStation Gamer signing out. Dear God, this made me feel like I lost brain cells. I need to go play more Last of Us. Until next time, guys, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that YouTube algorithm BS. Peace out, and have a good day. Fucking incels, man. Swear to God, they all share a brain.